Gold participants and listeners from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC for Gold Learning. In our podcast series today, we have a special guest, and my guest today is Christine Staricka. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
Christine, it's so nice to have you here with us today.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
And we're going to talk about your presentation. Christine is one of our presenters here at Gold for the Gold Tongue Tie Symposium, the online Tongue Tie Symposium of 2019. That will happen in September, the week after next, so to speak. And before we go into the presentation you will have for us, I want to learn a little bit more about you, Christine. It's wonderful to have you here and we get to know you a bit. So tell us, number one, where in the world are you located? And then tell us a little bit about your background too, so we get to know you.
Okay. Well, I am located and coming to you here from Bakersfield, California in the US, and Bakersfield sits about halfway between Fresno and Los Angeles for context. I am a native New Yorker who has lived in California for about 25 years, and I've been doing work in the lactation field since about 2001. I have both hospital and outpatient experience working with clients, and I still work with clients on a daily basis. And I really enjoy the work that I do. I'm very passionate about it, and so much, in fact, that some colleagues and we both work in a baby cafe, which is a licensed model of care, and we also started what's called the California Advanced Lactation Institute, where we teach aspiring lactation care providers and we mentor them on their journey toward becoming IBCLCs. And I would say that I am equally passionate about the mentoring part and about caring for families who are on the infant feeding journey.
That is wonderful, Christine. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I thought the baby cafe, that sounded really interesting. Tell me a little bit, how did that get started? And what is your day-to-day life there?
Well, what we do is this is a licensed model of care through a national organization here called Baby Cafe USA, where there's a standard model of how we provide lactation care to families in the community. It's provided free access to the families. Ours is funded by donations. Others may be funded by grants and other ways of funding. And what we do is we have these open drop-in sessions where we're open for a few hours and people can come in. They can get social support from their peers. They can receive counseling and education from our trained lactation counselors. And they can also access IBCLC care very easily and directly while they're there. And they can receive the kind of ongoing lactation care that we find that many families need, regardless of their feeding choices. Many need a lot of education at different time points along the way, and it's a really great way to do that because they know they can always come in for that type of care.
How wonderful. That sounds absolutely fantastic that you are right out there in the community helping families with their nursing needs. It's just wonderful to see that that's something out there in the community.
Well, thank you. We're really proud of what we do. It was a gap in our community. There weren't a lot of places for people to access both of those kinds of care all together in one place, and a place that's consistently available to people without having to make an appointment or pay a fee to access that care.
Mm. And you mentioned something that wasn't something that was easily available to many of our listeners, maybe in areas that don't have opportunities available like that. Is there a way to get started with that? Is there a way to connect and create another baby cafe or an organization like it out there?
Absolutely, because there's both a U.S. organization, which is Baby Cafe USA, and there's also an international, which is based in the UK. And the United States model is modeled after the international sort of broke off of it. And you can contact either one of those for information about using that model in your own country, in your own community. And it's
Wonderful.
easy to mold it to what your community actually needs, what your population requires, and they're located in a variety of different places, including such a range as museums and libraries, hospitals, clinics, and all the way to retail stores and other places where families can get there.
Mm. So when you and your colleague, you said there was another somebody else involved in this, right?
Yes, a few colleagues here in town who had worked in lactation for quite a while.
Right. When you started setting this up, was it easy or did you have any struggles, something that was maybe a little harder than anticipated?
Finding a location that has been consistently available for us to use has been a challenge over the years, and we have worked that out in a variety of different ways. We've been housed in a church hall, we've been housed in retail stores, that's where we are now. It's that can be a challenge, but in some places there's an easy, obvious place, such as a hospital. There's, a community education room in a hospital setting, or in some type of a community healthcare clinic. And so finding a location and funding are always going to be the biggest challenges, but the funding part is also really flexible, and we've been able to fund ours completely on in-kind donations from people in the community.
Wonderful. And we were just before you and I went on here on the air, you and I were chatting and we were looking over your bio, and I thought it was absolutely fascinating. You have a wonderful background, Christine. I saw you have a bachelor's degree of science in business management, right? And you also served in the Navy. So tell us a little bit about that and how that came to pass that you ended up in the field of lactation.
Well, when I got out of high school, I wasn't quite ready to go to college, and a really important thing in our family is giving back and serving. So I joined the United States military in the Navy,
Mm.
and while I was in the Navy, I did a variety of different jobs. I was in for about 2 years, and I met my husband at that time, and we moved back to his hometown when we both got out of the Navy. That's where we are now, Bakersfield, California, and started a family. And he now serves in the California Highway Patrol,
Mhm.
and that's been, an amazing way for us to raise a family in a wonderful place for 23 years so far. And during the time that we've been raising our family and having children, I became very involved in a breastfeeding support group. That peer support model was extremely important to my personal journey with all of my children. And I have a wide-ranging experience with how I fed my own children, and that fed into being sort of mentored by an IBCLC who thought that I would do well in this profession, and that's where I ended up.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful how you said in your family it is that you give back to the community, and that's how you join the Navy. So we thank you for your service, and it's a beautiful story there, and that led to your passion that you work in now and helping so many families day to day. That's absolutely wonderful. Now let's talk about your presentation, lactation skills for supporting diets with oral restrictions. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is a topic that is really near and dear to my heart. I have the opportunity through my work with the United States Lactation Consultant Association to have contact with a lot of lactation care providers throughout our whole country, and sometimes outside of our country as well. And many tell us that, I've had a lot of conversations with people who say that it's not always possible for the families that they serve to have revisions of tongue ties or lip ties. Some families and some communities, that's not an option. That's not something that they plan to do. And I've had lots of experiences with families, in my personal work, where revision just isn't something that they're going to be able to do for a variety of reasons. And sometimes that reason is very simple. It's that they don't want to. And I want to make sure that as I mentor new lactation care providers, that I always help them establish in their minds a great plan for helping support people with this particular challenge, because there are so many potential ways that lactation can become challenging when tongue ties and lip ties are present. There's a lot of potential outcomes that are challenging for families, and I like to have people get set up right from the beginning to know what to watch for, so that they feel like this is a choice that's being supported, and they know where to go if they do run into any of those potential difficult outcomes down the road.
Absolutely. I am looking forward to that presentation. So, what are you hoping our delegates will take away from it?
Well, I hope they will feel when they are finished as if they have a really great picture of the many challenges and difficulties that can come up where exactly things can go wrong so
Mm.
that they know when they're talking to a family exactly which pieces to set up for. So, if you see this happening, if you start to notice this, or if this is one of the outcomes that's happening for you or your baby, here's where we can go with this. And then to have a really good set of solutions and resolutions for anytime those things come up, so that if a family, comes into your care at any point along their journey, whether it's in the beginning when they're first finding out about a tongue tie, or it's 8 months down the road when they're experiencing problems for really the first time, problems that are, threatening to cause them to wean when they don't want to. I really want people to have an organized set of solutions and ideas and suggestions for people so that it doesn't feel like we're always just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Everything should be as organized as possible so that we can really truly see where the problem is coming from and how to address it.
That sounds great. Organized solutions. I really look forward to that. Well, thank you so much, Christina Staricka, for this little chat here with me today, and we're looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to giving it and to participating and engaging with lots of participants.
Wonderful. And this is for our listeners now the presentation Lactation Skills for Supporting Dyads with Oral Restrictions is part of the Gold Learning Online Tongue Tie Symposium of 2019. This presentation will be live on September 16th. And to find out when this presentation will be held in your time zone, go to goldlearning.com. The symposium, we have 2 action-packed days planned for you, live days with 10 presentations, wide-ranging topics, everything you can imagine about tongue ties. So I hope we see you all there. Thank you everyone for listening. Bye bye.